Good morning, everyone, or welcome to Bitesize this Wednesday morning. I hope you are well. Got a lovely little festive treat for you this morning, and amuse-bouche, if you will. Errol Seaman is delivering a session on revision strategies. So, Errol, I'm going to pass straight over to you.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everybody. Hope you guys are well excited for your Christmas holidays. I'm sure you are. My last bite size of 2025. And what I wanted to introduce today, a very simple technique, but can be quite impactful, if applied. Some of the things that are impactful can be very profound and very impactful. So, name this bite size studying and revision strategies for improved information retention. So in this session, what I'm going to do is just explore some techniques to help improve learner studying and revision. These are techniques that you can share with your learners. I'm aware a lot of you will have exams coming post-Christmas. These could be things that you might want to share with your students. Not advocating giving them work over the holidays, but if you are, these are some little tactics that you could drop in over these next couple of days that you've got with your students still. One of them is the Pomodoro time management strategy, and the second one is the Feynman complex to simple teaching technique pioneered by the physicist Richard Feynman. Yeah, and just some other key guidelines just to consider that you may want to pass on to students and parents in order to help them engage and improve their studying. As always, guys, with Bite Size, we promise to be timely, to provide value, and to provide something that you can walk away with, something tangible is packaged already that you can utilize straight away. And in many ways, I think all of these techniques can correspond, if done. Within a mindset of planning as a learning activity, as assessment process can combine with all three areas of the TLA framework to get you to core. I just want to talk first of all about the Ebbinghaus forgetting curve. Some of you may have seen this in past trainings that we've done. If you haven't, Ebbinghaus just looked at a pioneering correspondence between the amount of days that pass and the amount of information that we retain. And this is nothing new. All of you will understand that once you learn something over a period of time, you will forget naturally a certain quantity of that information, depending on how you've embedded that particular learning. But what Ebbinghaus looked at was understanding that when we review what we've learned over successive days, the actual amount of information that is retained increases over that time period. So being able to be consistent with our studying habits, our studying techniques, and being consistent after we've delivered information, and us implementing and embedding different activities as teachers, can help to reinforce that particular learning. So the first technique I wanted to introduce you to is called a Pomodoro technique. I want to thank Silvio Horoshuko for introducing me to both of these particular techniques. And the Pomodoro technique is very simple. A Pomodoro is classified as a quantified segment of time. And this time technique is this revision technique, studying technique, is very simple. The idea is that what we do, we discipline ourselves to focus on a particular task or set of related tasks within a particular time frame. Yeah. In this case, the Pomodoro is a 25-minute Pomodoro, which during that time we isolate any distractions and we focus purely on that task for 25 minutes and no longer than 25 minutes. And during this particular Pomodoro, what we do, we set a timer. So we start, we have no distractions, and it's just going to devote ourselves and immerse ourselves in that particular course of study for that time period. And after the Pomodoro is finished and your timer beeps and lets you know the time's finished, you take an active break away from whatever you're doing. It could literally just be walking outside, it could be meditating, it could be stretching, it could be doing some exercise, it could be doing nothing at all. But what you're going to do, you're going to take a 5-minute break. Then after the 5 minutes, you're going to return back to your 25-minute Pomodoro in order to continue your studying. And in this particular model, we see that there's 4 sets of Pomodoros. And what classically will happen after the 4th Pomodoro, what we're doing now, we take a longer break, 15, 25, 30-minute break, where we can now really relax and allow that information to be integrated, into our psyches. Yeah. So this is a technique. There's also, oh, excuse me, I don't want to do that just yet. There's also a website I just want to introduce you to, pomofocus.io. I'm going to slide over really quickly and show you this particular website there. Am I still showing it? Yes, I am. Okay, so this is website there, and it's just ready made where you can import certain things. So you can see with my first Pomodoro, I'm planning my Christmas escape party, and I will just start the clock right there, and the clock starts ticking down, and I can just obviously now focus. And at the end of the clock, which I'm not going to be able to show you now, a little alarm will go off, just indicating that you've done that. And you can see my second Pomodoro is to review my BDC Christmas escape plans. And then my fourth Pomodoro is to plan pre-Christmas escape plan party. And number four is to practice my celebration recital of Nessun Dorma. You won't hear that during this particular bite size. Unfortunately, you won't hear my Pavarotti techniques. Yeah. But all joking aside, yeah, really effective technique in order to and very simple. We know a lot of our learners, they have some issues with being able to understand how to study. You know, I think a lot of the times we can get um, we may not be aware that knowing how to learn and learning how to learn and learning how to study is a skill, is a technique in itself. And I remember for myself, when I was this age and I was a student at Barking and Dagenham College myself, I didn't really know how to study when I look back. My studying techniques didn't really become effective until I went to university, and I really was able to focus and get more engaged. So being able to teach students how to implement studying techniques is something that can really improve potentially our exam results moving forward, introducing simple techniques like this. And these are even things that you can implement within the classroom. Maybe you reduce the time of the Pomodoro just as an exercise. Maybe there's certain things that you want to do within that time. And maybe when you break away for that 5 minutes, you do something fun like a little quiz, or you just give them break time, whatever you want to do. But there's different ways that you can implement this. Yeah. So that's the Pomodoro technique. Why does it work? It reduces procrastination. It keeps us tuned into a particular focus of study for that time period, improves focus because of it, and because of the intermittent breaks, it prevents burnout, and you can track your progress because you can track information that you retain by simple techniques such as the Feynman technique, which I'm going to introduce to you next. Yeah, so the Feynman techniques is a very simple concept, as I said, pioneered by the physicist Richard Feynman. And the idea is being able to take something that the students have learned, any particular topic. And we all know as teachers that when you teach something, we learn it to such a greater level of depth. So the idea is being able to take a simple concept. In the example I've got here, we've got trigonometry, verbs, algebra, whatever it might be, and getting the student to explain something about it verbally or written as if they were teaching someone with no prior knowledge. And just using their plain language, avoiding jargon, avoiding trying to sound smart. What do you know? How could you explain it to me? If there was a 6-year-old child, a 7-year-old child there, or your 70-year-old nan or granddad sitting there, could you explain something which is potentially specialized with what you learned at school, at college, and being able to explain it in simple terms? And then at that particular point, what you would do then, if you was the parent or if you was the teacher, you would then ask them to clarify or to re-explain something that you don't understand within that. Yeah, so this is something that you can work with parents. You could introduce this at parents' evening, for example, and you could explain to them a simple technique that you introduce in these activities that you could do within class. But once the gaps are identified, and once you ask them to clarify or re-explain something, and it could be a little game, it could be something that because obviously you're the teacher, but you want to make sure that they understand what they are explaining. And then the last stage of the cycle is getting them to rewrite or re-explain something clearer, but using analogies and examples to make it more relatable to the audience that they're participating. Yeah. So here's an example with photosynthesis, and they might say something as simple as that plants make food using sunlight. Yeah. And your 77-year-old grandma might sit there and think, "Oh, what are you talking about? How do they make food using sunlight?" I don't know why I'm making that voice, but hopefully it made you smile this morning. But then what the next thing happens, now you can ask them to, well, what do you mean? What do you mean that they make food using sunlight? Now you ask them to clarify and explain it in greater depth, and they may say something such as they take water and carbon dioxide, and the sunlight helps to turn these into sugar, glucose, and oxygen, and it breathes out the oxygen, and we breathe in the oxygen. Interesting. You might go back, how does sunlight help? And if they cannot answer, then something like this would be their knowledge gap. So this is what I'm explaining with the Pomodoro technique, where we can use it to identify knowledge gaps, combining it with the Feynman technique. Now that student can go away, do a bit more research, into chlorophyll. How does it convert energy? How does it work within that particular mathematical equation? And then they can refine and provide an analogy. And so in this particular one here, it's like a solar powered kitchen where the plants cook using sugar, cook with sugar using sunlight, producing sugar using sunlight. Yeah. So just some simple ideas with the with the Feynman technique here. Why does it work? It forces active recall. It puts them into that state of teaching something, and now they're actively, dynamically drawing things from their memory and having to explain it. Encourages simplification. We know that as teachers, being able to break things down to the simple is a superpower in itself, and it can build confidence because now they can explain it properly and clearly, and with some feedback, they're going to feel much more comfortable. Yeah. Just very quickly, some other techniques that you want to share with your students. Turning off notifications, turning off their phone, put it on airplane mode. If they're not using it for a timer and things of that nature. Having a dedicated studying space. A lot of our students may have busy households where they're sharing rooms with their brothers, with their sisters. They may not have that particular space, but being able to encourage them to find a space which is their studying space is going to be a key thing. And also letting the rest of their family know that I'm studying at this time. Can you not disturb me? And just being that, and that may be enough in order to allow the students to have that dedicated time. As I said, going out, getting walks during their breaks within this Pomodoro, listening to music, meditating, whatever they can find that will give them a break away from the studying. And two other things here, asking your students go to bed at a regular time. I know we don't have direct control over it, but this is something that you can share with parents. As I said, during parents' evening, being able to get up, go to bed and get up at a regular time, avoiding eating too late, which will disturb the digestive system and keep them overly active and stimulated late, which will then further prevent them from going to bed. All of these are simple techniques which can be shared with your students in order to improve their ability to concentrate and be fresh in the morning. So I've mentioned all the stuff about sharing it with parents right there. So I want to share this last quote from the great Earl Nightingale. If you've not heard of him, check him out on YouTube. He's got the most wonderful voice. But he says, 1 hour per day of study in your chosen field is all it takes. 1 hour per day of study will put you at the top of your field within 3 years. Within 5 years, you'll be a national authority. In 7 years, you can be one of the best people in the world at what you do. Yeah, all of us, we're not made for specialization. We're not insects. We can learn whatever we want to learn if we apply ourselves. And of course, we want to pass this message on to our students right there. As I said, I want to thank you, Sylvia Horoshuko, for introducing me to both of these techniques. Other than that, I'll hand back over to the wonderful Sarah Pagram.
Wow, thank you, Errol. Fantastic stuff. Thank you so much. And yes, some really cool strategies there. And I can concur that the Feynman technique does work because I think I've inadvertently used it when I was doing my maths GCSE, and I used to teach my mum because I was terrible at maths, and I managed to pass that GCSE, and I've got someone with no math skill whatsoever. So can confirm it does work. Amazing. Loads of chat for you here this morning, Errol, which is great to see. So Irina is saying, I like the Feynman technique. Might help learners to see the development of their own knowledge at every stage of the cycle. Agreed. Really, really useful technique. Would encourage you to use it. The lovely Mark Hyde is saying, great techniques, Errol. Excellent session as always. Loads for me to take from this. Thank you. Thank you, Mark, for your comments. Sylvia saying great techniques. Thanks, Errol. And Sylvia also thanks you, Errol, for pronouncing her name very well. Her second name. Yes, fantastic stuff. Yeah, and that's it from us, guys, for 2025. Thank you so much for those of you that regularly log on and engage with this. We hope you found it useful. And just on behalf of myself and the learning team, please do reach out to us. There's so much great practice across college, and we are really wanting people to come onto Bitesize with us and share their practice too. So please do drop us an email. You can see our emails down at the bottom of the screen there that are always sharing, and come into T222 and yeah, have a chat with us, and we'd be happy to kind of help support you on yeah, joining us in Bitesize. And I think that's it. Have a fabulous break. Whatever you're doing, make sure that you turn off those Teams notifications, get some rest, and we look forward to seeing you all in the new year. Take care, everyone. Goodbye.
Merry Christmas, guys.
Bye.